Good morning. Hello, everybody. Welcome again to Aging Advantage. I am Donna Mitchell. We are here today with another ARPA Talk. Through the local grants and donations, we offer programs to help with effects of COVID and other post pandemic situations, like the housing and food insecurity or isolation. Through this partnership, we provide educational topics that can help promote self care and resilience. And today we're going to have a speaker, Michelle Perry, and she is going to share a little bit about how we get our docs in order. Michelle, go ahead.
Thank you,
Welcome
Donna.
aboard.
Thank you. So let me tell you a little bit about what we're going to talk about today. So I am a poster child for the sandwich generation. I have two adult children and three aging parents that all need different levels of care. And so I started a passion project many years ago about proactively getting organized, specifically getting our paperwork in order and getting all of our documents in one place because we never know when we're going to need somebody to step into our lives and help us out. And, we want to be as independent as possible, um, living our best life, but every once in a while we might need somebody to step in and help us. So at times of, whether that be medical crisis or just needing a helping hand, we would like to have things in order. So when they do need to step in, they can come in with ease, know what our intentions are. So they follow our intentions, right? We don't want them to think they know best for us. We want them to do what we want them to do, following our intentions. So they don't know that necessarily unless we've told them proactively or have it in writing. And so today we're really going to just talk about how to do that and get everything in one place. So I'm going to share a little bit. It's taken me many years to get a well-oiled machine in place. So I'm just going to share some best practices. And I'm going to share my screen. Sorry about that. So how this all got started is by day, my life, I do spend helping people. I am a financial advisor, and that's not why I'm here today. But it did start because I do handle a lot of paperwork. And I found that, we all get a lot of paperwork in the mail, online, and we tend to just keep what we think is important and toss the rest. Or maybe we have it spread out, like we have some in a file cabinet, some in a safe, some in drawers, and every once in a while, we're like, we know where it is, but if somebody had to step into our life, would they know where to find it necessarily? So that's what we're going to really talk about, is getting all those pieces of paper organized. And life is good, right? Life is good. We have every day, we watch our shows, we, maybe go to church, we go to our different family events, and all the good stuff is happening. But then every once in a while, something interrupts all of that. And I liken it to playing pinball. Like, who do you want to be? Do you want to be the ball just ricocheting around in the machine? Or do you want to be the person, hitting the bumpers and controlling, every once in a while when that ball comes into your realm, like you get to direct where that ball is going to go. So I'd rather be the player than the ball. So that's what this is. It's like, how intentional can we be and get control of the situation? So back to the question, if suddenly someone had to step in and make decisions for you, could they find, if you do have a medical POA or financial POA, power of attorney document on file, could they get their hands on that? What about, could they get into your phone to find important information? Do they know where your calendar is? Do you keep things on paper or do you keep it all on your phone? And what about, could they keep your cash flow going? Could they pay your bills while you were, or help you pay your bills? Maybe you're the only one signing the bills, but could they help you continue to pay your bills while you were maybe sick? And how many people does that take? I jokingly say you probably have an alpha child or somebody in your life that would step in and take care of you. But I jokingly say when times of duress, all your children become your alpha child. And so have you talked to your family and said, this is the person I want to step in, and is it in writing? Because that's not always how the family sees it's going to go down. And then if you are that person, right? If you are that person that's going to have to step in because somebody's already asked you, hey, if in times of duress, will you be that person for me? And you're like, sure, I'd be happy to be that person. But have they told you where is all that information? Here's how to get into my phone. Here's where my calendar is. Here's, I've this is where I bank, or this is what I need to have happen. Um, so if suddenly you had to step in and make decisions for someone else, and they're like, hey, I've named you POA, but they didn't give you the document, and suddenly you're called by the hospital to make decisions, you still have to follow their intentions. So how would you know what those intentions are if they haven't been spelled out or shared with you? So those are questions that maybe you just need to ask. So this is really about like taking a step before all that, before that time of crisis happens. Let's be proactive and have those discussions up front. So top 10 things to have in place. So medical power of attorney. The good news is we live in the state of Missouri, and Missouri does provide that through the Missouri Bar Association for free. And I will ask Donna to put a link with this that you can maybe get to that document for free. It does require a notary, but you can also go to an attorney and get that. This is a little bit different than the HIPAA forms that you sign at the hospital or at the doctor's office. It's a step above that. I'm not an attorney, so I don't prepare those documents, nor can I give you advice specifically for you. But it is something that is nice in the state of Missouri that we do have a form that can be used outside of your hospital conglomerate. So let's say you go to BJC, Mercy, St. Luke's here in St. Louis, they all have their own forms. But if you go to St. Luke's and then an ambulance takes you to BJC, those two hospital conglomerates don't talk to each other. You would need a form that actually jumps between the two, and Missouri does provide those forms for free. And you can get that through the Missouri Bar Association. And Donna will hopefully be able to put that link in for you. Financial power of attorney, that is a legal document. You would have to get prepared through an attorney. Wills are documents that just state your intention. It does not avoid probate, but it is stating your intentions up front. And for people with minor children, it can give intentions to direct the care of minors. A living will or advance directive gives you those end of life decisions, like, what do you want to happen or not happen in the event of end of life decisions. And then all those other documents, like some of those things you would have in your wallet. Some people carry wallets, some people don't. Like, where are all those important documents? I always recommend that you have a list of doctors and medical lists. Like, I already have one made up for me and my husband, even though we're in our 50s, the people are like, you already have one? Yes, like it's still important. And we never know when emergencies will happen. And especially if you have allergies or any kind of chronic illnesses, you need to know what medicines you're on. Hopefully, if you use My Chart, or if you have like a Walgreens or CVS online access, a mobile app, they can get that, but they have to be able to get into your phone and look at that. It's not instantaneous. So again, you need somebody to be your advocate for you in times of crisis. Also, if you're a pet owner and you treat them like family, you would also want that for, pets. Obviously, kids, family, any family members. How do you get into your phone? That's a sensitive topic. We all want to our privacy. We want to keep our privacy, but then in times of crisis, how do we share that information? There are password access tools that are out there. There are also the good old fashioned, it's like a phone book from the olden days, but it's also can be used like a password book. These can be either, even Dollar Tree has a version of this. So for very inexpensive, and you can even get the old fashioned address book and just convert it to keeping your passwords, A for Amazon, Amron UE, all the way through Z, and just write the name of the vendor and then your username and password. I typically say use pencil because often these, we forget our password and have to reset them. So you can always update it. And then something, it's more a Michelle Perry thing than a standard thing. I've created something called a bubble list, like who's in your bubble. So, like, my children don't know all of my friends, they don't know who I work with. So, if they had to come in and step into my life, who would they need to call to say, I'm not going to be at work tomorrow, or, I'm going to be out for a little bit? Hopefully this doesn't happen. This is a break under glass in case of emergency kind of thing. But, who does need to know and who doesn't need to know? My mom obviously is getting older. I wouldn't want to, necessarily upset her with all kinds of minor issues. So I'm like, hey, this is who needs to know. Like, I'm not going to be in for a couple of days. Like, work would need to know. I would need to rearrange appointments. But, mom doesn't need to know unless it's really severe or like 3 to 5 days out. Like, so there's a list of who needs to know immediately, and then like who really needs to know if it's like this level of severity. So it's like have that discussion about levels of severity. So who do you want to be notified and who do you not want to be notified? And then in times of crisis, let's say somebody passes and people want to bring me food. Well, I have a mushroom allergy, so I would want everybody to know, don't bring me food. That's going to make me sick because in times of crisis, I don't need two whammies. So I do already have a list of preferences because, when I'm from a big Italian family, and the first thing everybody would want to do is bring me a big dish of lasagna. And when there's times of crisis, I'm not really going to be thrilled with a big, heavy pasta dish in my stomach. So I really went ahead and made a list of like, what do I want and what don't I want in times of crisis. So that's really been helpful in our family because we're like, okay, here's my list. In times of crisis, don't bring me this, do bring me this. And people are grateful to know what you do and don't want because they don't want food thrown away and it's wasting their time and your time to do that. So I know as simple as it sounds, simple things go a long way. And then this is a sensitive topic, but the final wishes discussion, you won't believe how many people I come across and they're like, oh, my family knows exactly what I want. And then when I have the opportunity to have them all together, I'll be like, does everybody, are we all on the same page? And it's often not the case. So, preference number one is put it in writing. Preference number two is have that discussion. And oftentimes people are like, well, how do I bring that subject up? And one of the ways you can bring it up is if somebody else passes, like if somebody else passes and you're going to a funeral, it's a natural conversation to say, what I liked about this, or what a celebration of life. I really enjoyed the celebration of life, but that's not really what I want. I want a more traditional funeral. Or, hey, I went to a traditional funeral and I think that's no longer my wishes. I think I want to change to a celebration of life. Whatever that conversation is, even last year when the Pope passed, was it earlier this year? Earlier this year when the Pope passed, I had some people that weren't even Catholic. I'm like, use that as a launching pad. When a celebrity passes, use that as a launching pad. Hey, did you hear so and so passed? That reminded me, one, I have life insurance. Two, you know, I wanted to talk to you about my funeral arrangements. Three, all these things, it's just a natural conversation starter. So it doesn't have to be right out of the blue. You can use something like that to start the conversation. More local is easier. If you have to use a celebrity or a world event to kind of instigate that conversation, that's always a easier path to that conversation. So hopefully that will give you some helpful hints. Um, this is kind of just more about that. But often say handy desk reference, handy desk reference. If you take one thing away from today watching this, is just pull all of that paper together and use it as a rainy day project. The next day that it rains and you're stuck in the house, or, sacrifice you turn on the TV and you're like, this is boring, I don't want to do it. If you're going to be bored anyway, you might as well grab all your paper out of your files and sort through them. Pull your bills, right? Your paperwork at the, beginning of the month, you get all your paperwork instead of just throwing them in the drawer. Maybe sort through them, because even your utilities now, they come with PIN numbers and different things. If anybody needs to step in, they're going to need to know the name on the bill, the account number on the bill. If there's a PIN number, they're going to need all of that information to speak with the vendor on your behalf. And even with that, they're probably going to need some evidence that they have a relationship with you. Ideally, power of attorney is the best, but they're going to need some evidence that they have a relationship with you and they have your permission to speak with them. So the faster that you can get all those balls rolling, the better. So to pull, utilities, life insurances, all of your statements, anything that comes in the mail, copies of most recent tax returns, like I said, the bubble list, the doctor's list, putting all of that in one place. If you have a 3-hole punch, you can put them in a binder. If you don't, one folder would be ideal. But just having everything um, in one place really goes a long way. And then if you have that last bullet point there, discuss with your executor or your person who's going to help you through all of this. If you have something intentional, so my grandma left me a strand of pearls. Like, that was her gift to me when she passed. And I want to make sure that that goes to my daughter. So I have more than one child, but I have one daughter, and I wanted to make sure that that gift goes, legacy down to her. But, I want to make sure that my other children get something else, of equivalent value. So how do I do that? I had the discussion ready, like, hey, this came from grandma. It's going to go to Sydney. But to offset that, you know, first I asked, like, what would you like? Maybe from a different grandparent. This is from great grandma, but is there something else? So let them first decide, is there something of value that they want? There's really not a lot of things of value in my family, so it would be more sentimental value, right? Um, so first let them, and sometimes it's simple as Melmac bowls, or, at a garage sale, the value would be $5. But to them, it's the having breakfast cereal with them on, when they were visiting. It might not have a big dollar value, but it has a sentimental value. So you'd be surprised that oftentimes it's not a dollar value that they are looking for. It's more the sentimental value, but it's what their wishes are. So if you can equalize through that, ideal, but just make sure that that is given to them as first dibs, first option. And then if you want to equalize through a different means, you can also do that. Again, don't forget, like, notification is very important. We forget about that until there's times of crisis and then we're in panic mode. These are all those things that can even out the roller coaster, right? When crisis happens, there's this big emotional roller coaster. Wouldn't it be nice if we can just focus on getting people better and focusing on the sick person or, the crisis versus all these other noise things that happen at the same time that make us crazy. So let's be proactive. I said church and different things, but it's also neighbors. Like we get that nosy neighbor. Well, who are they and should they know? Like let's have that discussion up front. Maybe they are the person that can help with the trash or the mail, and maybe it's a good neighbor, but we don't know that until we have that conversation. But those are all things we can do proactively. And then the pros and cons of doing all this. We're wrapping up here, but it does take a couple hours. So, I said, if there's a boring show or it's probably not going to be done in a day. But if we can take a couple hours over, maybe this winter, do 2 to 3 hours up front, it really saves on the back end, not only for our loved ones, but also for us. So like once we get this all in one place, we're probably going to use it more than anybody else. Like they're going to use it in times of crisis, but once I help people get organized, they're like, guess who uses it more than anybody else? I do because it's all in one place and I've been searching for this stuff forever. And now it's really great that I've got myself organized. It does take a little bit of ongoing maintenance. So either tax time is usually the ideal time to just refreshen the data. Maybe that's the time of year that we replace those utility bills. So March, April is a good time to do that maintenance. And then hopefully you have a person in your life that can be that go-to trusted person to share, and maybe it's worth a lunch or a dinner once a year in that March, April timeframe to just have them back over and go over everything make sure everything's still up to date and refresh your wishes with them. The pros are you're in control, like you get to set all of your intentions up front and make sure they get executed per your wishes. It significantly saves you money, especially if you own a home and you get a beneficiary deed on that home and it avoids probate. The more anything that you have titled and you can get, your car to get a transfer on death, any of those kind of things you can proactively do up front. That will save you money avoiding probate. Relief in knowing that your wishes are getting executed. And I always say it's the road less selfish, right? The more we do up front, uh, it does avoid family squabbles or whatever words you want to put in for that, because they can't blame each other. You've set the tone for all of that. And it avoids chaos and emotional issues. And it allows you to give while you're living. So giving while you're living means like you've already set the intentions up front. Sorry, wrong way. I did talk about, these are some, I'm not endorsing any of these, but these are some of those digital vaults if you're good with computers, and then otherwise passwords. If you want an address book style, those are easily accessible, and just keep them locked up. You don't want them where anybody can get to them. Just make sure that they're safe. And then get to work. Paper is ideal, but again, you want to keep any kind of things with secure, like social security numbers, anything like that, under lock and key. You want to note where originals are. So if you're going to make a desk reference, you can say this is like the light version, but this I'm referencing that this is going to be in my safe or under lock and key. And anything that you can print out, it's better than just saying it's in digital format somewhere else. So if you can get any of the statements that you receive electronically, once in a while, just print them out, like maybe once a year, just print them out on paper. And that's it. Donna, do you want to jump back in?
Thank you very much. That was awesome. As before, as I told you, this is just something that it reiterates. If you have been thinking about things of this nature, then it helps you to know that, okay, I'm on track. Or if it's something that you're missing or something that you would um, maybe just haven't thought of. I mean, I think this helps to put you in the right direction, for you and your family. And sometimes listening and hearing this actually gets you to the point where you're like, wow, this is real. I need to get some things in order. I'm a little behind on a whole lot behind because I haven't started anything. So I love to hear you speak of this because it just helps. I think it's something that we all can use if we haven't already experienced going down this road. This is something that we can help to avoid. Like you say, the family squabbles and things like that. It just makes things a lot easier because you're already in a high stressful time a lot of times when you're losing somebody or just the lifestyle of somebody has changed. It puts a stress on you and your loved ones. So this will help. I believe it helps to relieve some of that extra added stress. So, and doing so also, Michelle, I have a couple of questions for you. Just bear with me 1 second. Let me get to them. I am horrible at trying to, where, oh, there it is. If I can see. Okay. All righty, Michelle. So I know you are a financial advisor in your day job, but how did you get so in the weeds on helping people get organized with their estate planning and getting their documents organized? So for you, how did that happen?
Yeah, so I guess I've been doing this about 13 years. And at one point, I started working specifically with widows. And then, um, I was coming in at a lot of times at times of crisis. And I was just looking at how much mail they had gathered and how much paper they were just feeling like so overwhelmed with all the paper. And we were always being reactive, right? Like, and they were in grief and mourning. And I was like, we don't need to make big decisions. But then we were just looking at these mounds of, paperwork that they had to get through. And once I realized like there was no choice, right? The business of death is not fun. So really started going, how can I help people avoid this, compounding situation? And so when I started working with families proactively, we could really avoid a lot of this. So now I've expanded to just, not only do I work with widows, but I work with women, not only women, but families who are experiencing dementia. And then divorce is kind of the same thing. There's this big milestone situation, lifestyle change, but it's also grieving. Like there's a loss there. And so once I started looking at there's the same need to be proactive, I was like, we're just going across the board, right? Everybody that I work with, we're going to be proactive. And then I was like, well, we don't have to wait till a certain age. I'm doing this from people that I start working with, even if they're in their 20s, throughout their life. So there's really not a starting point age based. And I think it's a good habit. So even if we're in our 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and beyond, getting organized is a habit that we can create and then build on. Because if we wait so long, then it feels like this big, mountain that we have to overcome because it's
Hmm.
a lot to backtrack. So if we start a good habit early on, then we don't have to undo and redo. So it's just really a pillar of my practice now that we start organize and then we build our wealth, right? Like organize is first and foremost. Um, so that's how I got started. And then, there's many tools, even Amazon. You can go out on Amazon and there's probably 20 different tools, life organizers. Like life organizer is the term that you can use to search for a kit. Um, but there's plenty of them out there. Even funeral homes have some kind of organizers out there. And that's how I got started. And, I'm doing a quick and dirty for you today. It's about, 30 minutes or less, but usually I spend about 2 hours teaching people how to actually go through and organize their paperwork. But
Okay.
this is the highlights.
Okay, okay. And that's great because I know a lot of times, I know even myself, I even experience, it without it being awkward. um I know a lot of times we feel that we have the best intentions for our family members and things like that, but how do you bring up the conversation, or how do you organize this without it being awkward? Because when you
Yeah.
start talking about stuff like this, I know with my dad I did, I would, like, I'm jumping in real quick. I'll say briefly, Dad, what is it, if something happens to you, what do you want us to do? How do you want us to do it? And I felt like as if I was putting them in the grave,
Yeah.
and I know that's not what I was doing. I was just afraid to bring up the conversation. I didn't even know how to start it. I just kept telling myself in my mind, okay, say it now, say it now, say it
Yeah.
now, or we're just in general conversation. And then just finally one day I just broke out, and just like, he was walking and I'm walking behind him, and I'm just like, what do you want us to do? How do you think we should do it? Um, do you want to get a policy? Have you ever thought about us getting a policy on you? And it just felt awkward. So, what do you say? How would you present if I had that opportunity again? Because I wish I had just been more confident in it. So, because he ended up passing, and my siblings just knew that I had something in place. Because if anybody was to do something, more likely it would be me. And then I talked about it with a couple of my siblings before, and they were like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, let's do it." And it got to the point, Michelle, I even had the guy to, this is when insurance people were still coming to your home. He came to my house, he had the papers. All I needed to do was sign. And I'm just like, well, let's just wait. Let me just see something. You know, I'll get back with you. And guess what? I never did. And so when
Hmm.
my father passed, we didn't have anything in place. My brother was right up under me. He's the oldest son. He was just my sister, then myself, and then him. He's the oldest boy. He was like, okay, so what y'all got? What you got for dad? What we gonna do? And I'm just like, I have nothing. He's like,
Yeah.
what? Come on now, you're kidding me, right? And I'm like, no. And I felt horrible because I should have had something. And then maybe about 3 years after that, I ended up becoming a life insurance broker. And that's when I really knew that, wow, if I just had known what I know now, then I could have saved my family a little extra heartache and stress. So for you, Michelle, tell me, what would you, hearing what I just shared with you, how would you actually recommend, something like that with families?
You're probably not going to like my answer, but you go get you done first. Like if you're like, somebody says, what are you working on, Donna? Or what are you doing? Oh, I'm getting myself so organized, right? Like I'm doing it myself. What are you
Okay.
doing Thursday night? Oh, I can't go out because I'm getting my documents in a row. I'm spending time pulling together all of my utilities. I'm getting time pulling together, open enrollments coming up at the end of the year. Like I'm pulling
Hmm.
together all my stuff. Why are you doing that? I just made a commitment to myself, right? Like I'm just going to do it. So every Thursday for the month of November or whatever, every whatever, I'm going to do it myself. Oh my gosh, that sounds like a crazy thing. Well, once I do it for myself, I'd be happy to help you, dad, mom, sister, brother, whoever. It's contagious because they're like, you're really going to spend time doing that? Well, what does that look like? Well, I really probably need to do that. Well, what are you using to do that? Well, what tools are you using? Well, what does that look like? So once you do it yourself, then people will listen because if you're going to spend time, energy, it's not a lot of money. Like there's really, you don't need any money. You've got all of the resources. You've got your utility bills. You've got your open enrollment paperwork. You've got your intentions are all up here, right? It's all brain
Mm-hmm.
power.
Yeah.
It's just time and energy to get it organized. Like I do have a tool, and um, when I do help people, I use my own, I pull out my utility bills. I'm like, here's my phone bill, here's my electric bill, here's my water bill, here's my trash, like here's my city. And I show them like, usually one of my kids comes with me, and they are like, they're grown adults. They're in their 24 and 25-year olds come with me, and they're like, yep, we're well aware. And they're working on their own. They each, my kids get safes for Christmas. They're not the
It's
most
neat.
fun gifts, but when you have to
It's
go live on
needed.
your own, you've got to have some organization.
Yeah.
So that's one way, like the other said, use a launching pad as a news story or something. And, their friends are probably passing, and use those as launching pads, whatever it takes. Don't be afraid to have the conversation. It's not like they're unaware. You know, as
And
far as
that's
I
a
know, the mortality rate's still 100%. So, they might not like to have the conversation, then you back down. If they're uncomfortable, you back down, but you etch
okay.
away. Like, hey,
Okay.
I saw you got a lot of mail here. Can I help you go through it? Well, where are you putting this? Well,
Okay.
let me help you file it away. Where do you file this?
Okay.
And it's just physically being in their space. If you're not physically in the same city, that gets a little bit harder, and you just have to be creative.
Okay. Okay. That's good. My daughter, I know she's been asking me, here latest, keep on saying, Mom, so if anything ever happened to you and Dad, where's your stuff? I mean, where do I go look? I just told I'm really kidding, but I said, well, in those drawers, all those junk drawers that I have, just go through everything and you'll eventually find what
Well, that's why you need one of these. You need one desk reference, right? You need one thing
yep,
that
there you
says,
go.
okay, hey, this is, when you get to insurance policies, it's in the safe. And I
Yep.
think I've shown you this before, but not everybody else see. So we always think of the safe as something like big, heavy that has to be. This is a safe
Uh-huh.
that's available on Amazon. Let me back up here.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
I'm lifting it with one finger each.
Okay.
It's fireproof. It's water resistant.
Oh,
So it's something that you're going to want to protect a little bit, but um, you don't have to think of those big, heavy Sentry
yeah,
safes.
exactly.
If you're afraid of the water, then put it in one of those big Tupperware things on top of it. But they don't have to be, and it's $30 on Amazon. I don't know
Wow.
if they sell them at Walmart or anywhere else, but that's where I got mine. And you don't have to be afraid of carrying it in from somewhere. They'll deliver it right to your front porch.
Mm,
But they're better than nothing, you know.
yes,
And then I have one
absolutely.
like I call sentimental safe and one
Hmm.
business safe. So if you
Oh,
have
okay.
articles from like my dad had like my grandpa had World War II, my dad had his stuff, and it gets passed down, right? Like family legacy
Okay.
stuff. I keep that in a
Yeah.
different place, and then I keep our business of life and death in I call it
Another.
the business safe. The business safe
Okay.
is one, the sentimental safe is another.
That's a great idea. Really great idea. Wow. Thank you so much, Michelle. I know we have talked about a lot. You've given us a great wealth of great information today. But sometimes it's just still a question that may arise for someone. They may just have that question, after they've listened and they've heard. If they have a question, how do or what do you recommend, or how do they get started, or if they have more questions, how will they reach you? Is there a way to be able to reach you or somebody, or what do you recommend?
Yeah, so probably the best way to reach me is just my office number, which is 314-392-6807. And I'm typically here Monday through Friday, 8 to 4. And they can just give me a call.
Okay, all right, great. So, and by all means, I'm with Donna again with the Aging Advantage. If for some reason you cannot get a hold of Michelle, see me, call me as well, search for me and get a hold of me, and I will make sure that you get in contact with Michelle. But she did go ahead and share her phone number. So if you have questions or concerns after viewing this video, please reach out to her. It's a life changer for sure. And it can probably save us lots of heartaches and pains, stress throughout your family of the most difficult times when you need not to be stressed out. You want to actually be able to either mourn with your family or just the process of getting your docs in order. If for some reason you don't know how to start, where to start, reach out to Michelle. I guess I'm pretty sure she'll help you out. She'll help you get your docs in order. I love that. I keep on almost want to say ducks, but no, docs. That is so cute. I love it. So with that being said, anything else, Michelle, you want to share with us?
No, I appreciate you
Everything's good?
inviting me on. Thank you, Donna.
Yes, and we appreciate you for coming on, Michelle. Thank you so much. Again, Michelle Perry, with getting your docs in order. Feel free to reach out to her anytime. Thank you.